Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is Brendan Lee with Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, founded by Peter Ralston. Some more questions. A lot of curious people. And then, as always, it is my intent to answer these questions and help further whoever asks the question to go make a discovery for themselves, because I think that's what's worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of bullshit. Here we go. It's just a bunch of blah, 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 and you believe me. And hey, that doesn't really give you anything except for beliefs. And we ain't about that. I'm not. And I don't want you to be either. For you, not for me. All right, so this question incoming. This might sound ridiculous to any of my Facebook friends reading this, LOL. But this fear of I don't exist keeps coming up for me, especially after clearing out some brain fog. Congratulations on clearing out the brain fog. You don't need that. Wondering if you could help me there. I probably can. I will do my best. Maybe a gradual way to experience and accept whatever the core of this fear is and how you did it. Okay, and then I have another question along similar lines. This was piggybacking off of a previous video. And lastly, does fear of losing self or dying impact a person's ability to grasp the truth? If so, how does a person get over that? So I'm sort of hearing the same question in both cases. Basically, how do I get over the fear of either dying or losing myself, and how does that impact my ability to contemplate? And then another question like, how did I personally get over that? Well, so I'm going to talk on these matters and then invite you to consider some things, and hopefully by the time I'm done, you can just say, screw it. You don't even need the fear anyway. Okay? Here we go. All right, might sound ridiculous. So now, a gradual way to experience and accept whatever the core of this fear is and how you did it. Well, to be quite honest, I am not sure that I ever really experienced a sort of paralyzing fear of losing myself while I was contemplating. Okay, so I want to start there. And invite you to consider that maybe it's possible to contemplate and become conscious and just not even have the fear arise. And I have seen some people that do that, and they just don't think about that, or they don't care. They're not afraid of losing themselves. It's just not an issue. It's a non-issue. So right away, I want to invite you to consider and perhaps see if you can hold it that it doesn't even have to be an issue in the first place, and then just you can cut the fear off right at the beginning, aka before it even comes up, just switch to, and I say just as if this is easy, especially if you're in this as if context of viewing things in perspective already, it'll be easy to switch. Well, maybe not. If you're embedded in the fear already, you're likely going to stick with that, unless you don't. Okay, but what I mean by cut it right off at the beginning is just don't even go there. Now, if, say, the fear does arise, and let's see, so from my own experience, I have had times where I didn't have, so I'm thinking about one story in particular, and this was me. I had something come up, so I'm contemplating, and I had something come up like eventually I start to get really upset, okay? I was distraught. I was starting to break down emotionally, just like, this is hopeless, this is stupid, this whole thing is meaningless, there's no point to life, this is all just like crazy. And I'm looking around the room, and based on my memory, some thoughts are arising it came up to me something like, holy crap, I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of people, and all we're doing is just trying to survive, and we're all going to die, and this is just crazy and stupid. So I in my distraught state, I went up, we're in a contemplation intensive, I went up to the master, went up to Peter, he was mastering the intensive at the time, and I remember sitting down with him. I think I was much younger, and I tell him this, right? I say, well, man, I'm feeling so terrible. We're all sitting in a room. We're all going to die. This is just stupid. And, I just think we're just crazy. Like, it's just a bunch of crazy people. And you know what he does? He just looks at me, right in the face, and he says, "Welcome to the club." Welcome to the club. And it just, of course. Yeah. Like for some reason I thought it was like a big thing, and it sort of helped defuse the situation. Like, join the club, son. Yep, this is the truth. It's like, okay. See, so maybe something in there could help assist you with this whole fear thing. Now, another thing that I thought of to say to you is, regarding the fear, take a look. Whatever's really true about you right now is already true. Whatever's already true about you ultimately is already the case, and you've been just fine for 20, 16, 30 years, 40 years, 50, however old you are, you see? And if you're not conscious of who and what you are at this stage, you are doing A-okay. See? So if it so happens that the stories are true, and all that hearsay stuff that you listen to about enlightenment and your true nature and things like that, if it's true, you've been just fine this whole time. So cut yourself a little slack. How are you somehow going to die if you become conscious of you, even though you've been you this whole time and you've done just fine? Like, let that sink in over there. Let that sink into your, for lack of a better word, soul, or like let that sink into your mind. You're doing just fine. And billions of people do just fine, living their entire lives, not being conscious, and then they die. Okay? So there is no reason to think that somehow you're going to lose anything by becoming conscious. All that's going to happen is you will be conscious. And consider that if for some reason you become conscious and there's an aspect of yourself that falls away, you're not going to miss it because the you that you are, if you're built like this may be a stupid metaphor or whatever. If you're built like a hand, and all of a sudden you just don't have a thumb, and now you're built like 4 fingers, you're not going to miss the thumb because you're not the thumb anymore. There's no thumb. It's just a non-issue. You see? So you're not going to, even if you change drastically or transform yourself, not likely, by the way, if you really dig in and take a look. People talk about, I'm going to let go of the self or whatever. You are not going to do that. That self is so powerful. The chances of you actually letting go of yourself are like astronomically small. Okay? Not until you die. Just FYI. But hey, don't believe me. Take a look for this stuff yourself. See, I'll get back to my other point. Like one of the things I like to tell or like to share is like, if you want to know how strong like self is, so to speak, self-mind, ferocious, as Peter would say in one of his books, he's like this ferocious mind that you encounter. Take a look at the objects around you right now. Now, can you see how strongly those objects stay the way they are? Can you see how much, no matter how hard you try, you cannot just by will change them? That's strong. Maybe another way to think about it. You say you write something on the board, right? Write a word on a board, and you look at that word. Can you see how hard it is to not see a word on the board? It's like goddamn impossible. You must see a word. It's like impossible. That's like a fragment of how strong this is. Like, because you've learned language, you now can make a marks on a board that have no meaning and somehow create meaning out of that. And what's even more impressive, you can't stop doing that. It's so hard. You can't Like go and try to like open a book, look in there, and then try to not see any words. Try to have all that be meaningless. It's almost impossible. You see how strong that is? You're not going to, and that's like a fragment. You're not going to let go of yourself. So if you're worried about losing something, I would, lighten up on that. Okay, so now back to this losing. Let's see, where were we? You're not going to miss anything because like the way you're constructed is just going to change. So then that will be you. Or if you change from this to like air or something, you'll be air and you won't miss your hand because you're not hand anymore. It's got nothing to do with you. Now you're air. All right, so that's like regarding transformation. I'm trying to help break up perhaps some of the assumptions you have or may have that are helping to support the fear, because I want to help get the fear out of your way, so to speak. Okay? So now, let's see where we're at. So now maybe a gradual way to experience and accept whatever the core of this fear is and how you did it. In terms of, if you have a fear that is like, I don't exist, you have a fear that perhaps says, I don't exist. First of all, use what I just said in the video so far to lighten up on the fear, and then get if you exist or not. Maybe you do exist. If you do, get clear what you are, or who you are first. Or, if you're doing the Cheng Shin as a progression. I don't want to make a system or a model about this, but this is the way that we progress. It doesn't have to be this way. Get who you are, really. And then get what you are so you can get clear. Hey, you already are what you are, so just be conscious of that. Then you'll know if you need to be afraid of losing anything or not. There. Okay? Otherwise, if all of that has failed, another aspect is you may have to utilize something called courage. Because I do have a vague memory of experiencing fear around some of this stuff, and every so often I'll hit places where it's like, uh-oh, I'm going to lose something, and this is bad. And then I go, well, what's my commitment to? Do I want to stay? Do I want to let the fear hold me back, or am I going forward anyway? And usually what wins out is I'm just going to go for it. You're not going to physically die. Okay, so then all that other stuff is just, it's just crap, really. But you have to find that out for yourself. So there you go. Make that decision. I support you in making a decision to be courageous. And you tell me what happens. Man up or woman up or person up, however you want to call it. Go for it. I guarantee you're not going to die unless you jump off a cliff or do something to interrupt how this body thing works. You're going to be fine. Socially, you might not be. Woo! That could be a rush. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Oh my God, they think I'm a total asshole, whatever. Okay, but where is that stuff? That stuff doesn't exist anywhere. It really looks like it does, but it doesn't. So you see, then you just got to decide what your commitment is, and I want to fully support you. Hey, just go for it if all else fails. If you got over the fear in the first couple minutes of this video, hey, great. But if you can't, you're going to have to find the strength on your own and do it. You're a lot more powerful than you think. Okay, so there's that. And lastly, so there's jumping to this other question now. And lastly, does fear of losing self or dying impact a person's ability to grasp the truth? If so, how does a person get over that? Well, the second part of the question, refer to the first part of the video. Does fear of losing self or dying impact a person's ability to grasp the truth? I think only if they let it stand in the way of their contemplative effort. So if the fear comes up and you let it dominate you, let me see, is that true? If you let it distract you, that could get in the way. Like, what comes to mind for me is in the process of contemplation. Sometimes, like for example, myself, I ran through periods of like weird psychological crap. Okay? And I spent some time in that world way back. Okay? And I would like hit it and then hit it again. And so this is within the context of contemplation, and more specifically contemplation intensives, where I'm doing nothing but questioning all day long, including evenings. It's very strict. It's no joke strict as far as I can. It's really, really, really strict. It's called an intensive for a reason. And I would run into this stuff and then hit it again. And then hit it again, and then eventually I started realizing, that's like something I'm doing, say I'm walking through the woods, and there's a path, and I take that path, and then I come back, and then eventually I'm at the beginning of the path again, and then I go, which path? Oh, and then I take that same path again, and then eventually it's like I've been down that path, I know what's there. I don't need to go down there anymore. That's just, who cares? See? But then the perhaps important thing to realize there is I had to grasp for myself that I was doing that. Or what we say here often. Peter will say this, and I definitely will say this now, is you got to do what you got to do. So in your contemplative effort, you may go through stuff, and you go through it a few times. Maybe. You don't have to. You don't have to let anything stand in your way. You could be in the middle of a complete fear, nervous breakdown, and just bingo. See, so it doesn't ultimately, in terms of becoming directly conscious of, say, your true nature, something absolute, or even having an insight, and you could be in the middle of fear and be suddenly, or you could be in the middle of eating food or having sex, or you bump your head in a bathtub, or you could even be in the middle of a psychedelic experience. Now, I don't go and make that like the psychedelics are what causes enlightenment or breakthrough, maybe some insights, but not direct consciousness. Just in case you psychedelic people out there start to make a thing about this. No, please don't. Okay? But you could be in the middle of anything and suddenly realize something. You could be in the middle of a contemplation intensive. You could be questioning something else and have a breakthrough about this. See, because it doesn't really matter. So now, let's see, how does this help you? Regarding the fear, the original question, does it stand in the way? Well, perhaps yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if you get focused on the fear and that's where your attention is constantly going, that's what you're putting your attention on, rather than becoming directly conscious of what's true. And so if you are doing that, then yes, it will stand in your way. On the flip side of that, like I just mentioned, and I'm repeating myself, you can become directly conscious while you're fearful. Be open to that. I want to invite you to be open to that what's true is already true, and whether you're afraid or not afraid, whether you're happy or sad, whether things are really positive or really negative, whether things are weird or not weird, doesn't matter. Okay, so to further your action, bear in mind the considerations in this video. And then if you want to become conscious, then remember, you have to do that. You have to go for it yourself. You see, there are many people who have gone before you in a certain sense and become conscious of things. You see, so it is within the scope of human possibility, easily. We have many stories to back that up. There's even live people that can back that up. So, in terms of the fear, maybe take some comfort in the fact that there are others. You're not alone. It's just we're not necessarily all talking with each other. But then also remember that you don't need to be, keep in mind that confronting fear is a different matter than just becoming conscious, because becoming conscious doesn't really rely on anything. And everything stands in the way of becoming conscious. Perception itself is already in the way. The fact that you're over there watching a video in a room or outside, and that you see how there's all this stuff here behind me. It's like I'm in a room. This is all perceptive within the perceptive experience. This itself is already off track and in the way, you see. So emotions may be in the way, thoughts, feelings, distractions, wants, needs, not wants, states. That's a really tricky one. See, people get into states and they think that's enlightenment or becoming directly conscious, but what they're not realizing is they've entered a state, and it could be a really fucking good one. And they miss that, or they get intellectual, and this is an even bigger trap. They get intellectual and they don't realize they're doing it. I've seen that one many times. They intellectually create a breakthrough with their intellect, and don't realize it's intellect. And they're not conscious of something new. They've intellectually produced something that they think is conscious, but is not. I've seen that too. So, there's barriers everywhere. So basically, the quick version of my message is screw it. Just get conscious. I should have said that back at the beginning of the video, but I guess that's the goodie part. You listen this long, you get the goodies. Okay? So that's what I have for you on these questions. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your time. Please check the links in the description for more of my offerings. I would like to invite you to do that. If you want to get serious, attend a workshop, check out my websites, all these things. Feel free to contact me if you have serious problems, and keep your messages short. Thanks very much. Brendan Lee with Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, founded by Peter Ralston. Take care.